Welcome to Adjuster Talk. Are you trying to get your first claims as an independent adjuster? Find out the easiest steps to break into the industry with our steps to becoming an adjuster guide. Download for free at adjustertalk.show.
This podcast is powered by Royal Adjusting. If you're a new, aspiring, or veteran property adjuster, head over to royaladjustingservices.com and join the roster for work opportunities. Hey, IAs, my name is Chris Stanley, and I'm the co-host of the Adjuster Talk podcast by IA Path, and I'm joined by my co-host, the founder of this podcast, Jason Heenan. Now, Jason, in the beginning, I ramble off that you welcome new veterans, whatever, on the Royal Adjusting roster. Is that true? Are you guys really open to new people, or is this really just kind of like, no, we really just want the veterans? Or do you guys like new people?
Oh my gosh. Without new people, I don't know where we would be. You always see work experience required, and you see a lot of new people complaining about trying to get hired. And the fact is, I would take a new person with who's just into it and been training super hard for 6 months and doing everything they can and really salivating for that opportunity. I'll take them 10 times out of 10 over somebody who's been doing it 15 or 20 years. And the first thing they start giving me is caveats and all these other stuff. So you betcha, we want your information.
Awesome. Well, for those who don't know, each week on the Adjuster Talk podcast, we bring a panel together and we talk about the big questions and topics that independent adjusters like you have and what you face when getting started or when you're trying to grow your career. So today we're joined by two special guests in addition to Jason and myself. We have Max Olson, who is the director of media at IA Path. He's also a daily auto IA, and he is a storm chaser. Now, when we say storm chaser, we literally mean he chases the tornadoes. They're scared of him. He runs at the hurricanes. He even flies to erupting volcanoes and films them. If you don't already follow him on YouTube, dear Jesus, why not? Check it out. The link will be in the show notes. We're also joined by TJ Johnson. She is our desk specialist at IA Path. She knows all things liability, workers' comp, total loss, bodily injury, kick your butt because you're out of line, no matter what side you're on. That's what TJ does. So if you're interested in that line of work, she's the one you really want to connect with and really tune into, on this podcast. But today our topic is 3 things every adjuster, that's you, 3 things you should know before getting started. And guys and gals, we know the reality of this industry. It's ambiguous. It's weird. You hear about it at a bar, whatever, and then you have these weird thoughts about what our industry is really like. We want to kind of set the record straight a little bit today, as much as we can, from each of our own unique vantage points. So the icebreaker question, starting off, is going with TJ. Is TJ, what did you think being an independent adjuster was like before you actually got started? And I know your start was a little different because you came from the other side, and you can explain that. But what did you think it was going to be like?
Traveling, making a lot of money, and probably working 6 months out of the year. That was my original expectation when I got started. It started out that way. I have not had a deployment where I've left Texas, all of my deployments. So I've been, I guess, blessed and cursed in a way, because I haven't had an out-of-town deployment. Well, I take that back. I did. I had a deployment in Louisiana 2 years ago. So, I mean, that was kind of away from home, but that was still home because I was still with my family there in Louisiana. But for people who hypothetically live in Georgia and they went to Indiana for a deployment, or they were in Kentucky or Illinois or Nashville, I haven't had that experience. So what my perception was, okay, you go to this deployment, you're there for about 6 to 9 months, you come home with a whole lot of money, like you won the lottery, and then you can hang out and vacation for 3 to 4 months if you want to. That is not realistic, ladies and gentlemen. It's not.
Wow. I think they all just turned off this podcast and went and found somebody else who give them something a little more exciting, TJ. Holy crap. You just threw them in the gutter and said, see you later. I love it. I love it. No, it's perfect. She's already into the main topic. This is what it's like, but yeah, so that's what you thought. That's what you thought it was like. Obviously, you could tell she was a little disappointed about the way these things panned out. I can't wait to get to her later. Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and jump in with what I thought. it was going to be like I honestly had no freaking clue. I worked at the warehouse. My father-in-law said, I want to teach you how to be an independent appraiser, adjuster. I don't even know what term he used. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. He's like, when cars get wrecked, you go look at them. And I'm like, it really sounds lame, but so is throwing boxes. So I'll go do it. I'll learn it. And he taught it to me. And it was completely 180 from anything I might have been able to envision based on what he said. And it took me. And so if you're new and you're first encountering this and you're like, this is weird. It is weird. It really is. But once your brain has time to kind of understand what's going on in our industry and what it's like to actually do the job, then you can actually decide, do you enjoy doing this or not? I ended up loving it. Not because I love cars. I've never changed my own oil, never had classic cars. I don't have car calendars or little toy cars that I play with, like none of that stuff, right? Like, Max, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. No, I've seen your car. He's not a car guy. I've seen his car. He lets it get beat up to it.
Hail damage.
Oh, wow.
I'm more talking about Jim Berger and his awesome toy collection. It's amazing. But I never had any fascination with cars. But what I loved was the driving and everything and just having my own time, my own space. Totally different from working in a warehouse. So what I thought it was to what it was I had no clue. But luckily it was way better than I could have imagined. So I'm the opposite of TJ. All right. So let's go over to Max now. Max, since you don't have toy cars, Jim Berger, we love you. We're not making fun of you. I think your collection is amazing. I'm a little jealous of it. But I've never been into cars like that. But Max, since you don't have a toy car collection either, what did you think the job was going to be like before you got started?
It sounded too good to be true, right? You go and you make all this money and then you get all this time off. It just sounded too good to be true. And the thing I wanted was more time to go do the storm chasing stuff. And honestly, I mean, I found a way to do it, but you have to level your expectations. And I kind of had to come to terms with, if you want to be making consistently the big bucks that you hear about all the time, you're not going to be able to just take off on a moment's notice and go storm chasing, but you can still make a good living and then be able to go do those other things that you want to do. You just have to manage your expectations. So I thought it was going to be just this glorious, perfect thing. And in a lot of ways, it's been great, but you've got to level yourself a little bit, I think.
Max is almost a poster child for how people envision independent adjusting and appraising. He's like, you know what? I heard there's a volcano going off in Norway, guys. Peace out. I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to come back and still have work. But that is because you have a good reputation. We'll probably get to more of that later, but that's because you have a great reputation. People want you back, and they know that about you. You've already set those expectations up. Awesome. Jason, what did you think independent adjusting was like before you got started?
Yeah, kind of along with what TJ was saying, there's this fantasy that you're going to go 6 months on and 6 months off, or maybe this major event is going to occur every year that's going to just give you a major opportunity to go cash in. So that happens, and it's not that irregular. But the idea that you're going to go 6 months on and 6 months off, and like you're going to commit 100% during that 6 months and then 0% the other 6 months is a fallacy. You have to change for the job. You have to change yourself. You have to change many things. And then of course, when you get done with that, it's great. But the idea that you're just going to get to be yourself and the success is going to come find you is, that is going to be a rude awakening for a lot of people.
Man, I'm hearing the same kind of fallacies a lot of people, including myself, think about getting married. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be like vacationing all the time. We're just on honeymoon all the time. And then, surprise, it's not always like that. And you actually have to change for the other person, or in this case, for the career, to match what's actually reality. I love it. All right. Now let's see who we're going to go with on the main topic here. 3 things every adjuster should know before getting started. Max, we'll start with you. What are 3 things you could tell people maybe that you wish you had known before or that they should know?
Number 1, it can happen overnight, but it doesn't always happen overnight. You can have that giant hurricane comes, they need all hands on deck. You get your chance right away, but there's a lot of times we're seeing it this year. It's September 1st. We're recording this. you know, there's some activity out there, but nothing that's going to be coming anywhere close to land anytime soon. If you quit your job in August and we were sitting around waiting for something, there's a potential it might not come this year. So you've got to be willing to understand that that's a possibility. And that kind of leads me into my next thing, is making sure that you have money saved. Definitely a few months to be able to pay off all your just regular expenses, your adjuster expenses. You're going to have software going. You're going to have to put gas in. Gas is, you know, it's coming down a little bit, but it's still pretty expensive. So making sure that you have a reserve set aside for when you do decide to jump into it is important, but knowing when to jump in, all hands on deck. I mean, I think you really got to sit back and assess when that time is, because if you do it too early and then you start running out of money, start losing motivation, you're not able to, you know, get this whole glamorous thing that you had been promised, it can be really, really discouraging. So making sure you have those level expectations is important. And piggybacking off that is you need to be adaptable. You might have seen property adjusting, that's what you want to do. Well, if that's not something that, you know, if you don't have that big catastrophic deployment opportunity, you're not going to be able to get daily work as a property adjuster. So you might have to start looking in other avenues. You might have to start doing something else, whether that's auto claims, desk writing, liability, photo and scope type stuff. You need to be able to be adaptable, and that just will help you throughout your career, being able to say yes to different things that you might not have thought you were going to do. But, you know, a company is, they need help. They need somebody to go do something. You're that person in that area. You scratch their back, eventually they're going to come back and scratch yours. So those are my 3 tips.
Man, those are good. We can stop right there, and I feel we gave a good value there. But luckily, we got hopefully 9 more things, or at least piggybacks on some of those things. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Jason, over to you. What are 3 things that you wish you had known, or that you think people should know before getting started?
You know, Chris, the first thing is that your time is, at first, you need to be able to set aside as much time as you can, just to study the trade and to become, in order to become that way, you're going to need to grow and develop, and that's going to take some time. Number 2, and just from my own personal experience, you know, hard knocks was the only way to learn, it seemed like, for the first couple of years of everything, is just be open to doing things differently and changing. And like, for a lot of people, that's a really difficult thing to do, because many people believe that they're great just how they were made, and they are. But if you're going to change to do something else, you're going to have to be open to those changes. And that is sometimes very difficult to do, is open up your mind and open up yourself, and soaking up new things, because, you know, those new things are going to replace old things as well. And you hopefully need to choose those. Don't let them choose themselves. Number 3, learn to budget. Budget is huge, and you're running a business. You are the business whenever you're an IA. And I think that those are 3 major things: time, discipline, and budgeting. If you master those quickly, you're going to be off and running.
Good stuff. Good stuff. TJ, over to you. What do you got? What do you got for 3 things for people?
My 3 is be realistic, be teachable, be marketable. Some of this is going to piggyback off of what Jason and Max already said. Be realistic. My unrealistic expectation was that I was going to come into this industry and make 6 figures, even though I later learned that that's a bad goal to have. But originally, before I really got connected to this industry, that was my goal. Was motivated by the money, and the expectation. I did not meet that expectation really in my first 2 years of being an adjuster, and it really took for me to sit down to really learn all the pros and cons, then the ins and outs of the industry, before I was able to get to the point. I think by year number 3, I saw the type of money that I anticipated making. But in the door, for some people, it does happen. Probably between 5 to 10% of folks that come into this industry, but that doesn't mean get discouraged if you don't start making the money when you first get in, you got to keep going. Be teachable. I came in as a veteran staff adjuster into the IA side, but that doesn't mean that although I did have value to give, there were still things that I still needed to learn as an IA. So my claim handling had to shift between being a staffer and file ownership and stewardship versus being in the team environment and being an IA. And that's working from a desk level. Be marketable. This is super important. And this is probably a plug for my liability class, but not just learning liability, but having other disciplines. I think Jason and Max both talked about, hey, if you're the storm person, you definitely want to be that person that also you can go between. And if you really show that you have good work ethic, and if a company runs out of CAT work, they will find daily claims for you to work. I know that I'm a witness to that because I started out on the deployment that I'm on now, handling CAT. And once they were releasing everybody for the CAT claims, they actually said, hey, hang tight. We want you to work some daily claims if you're interested. So I've been going in between the two where the business need is. So, and being marketable, having other skill sets in your tool belt will help you be fluid and help you keep working if you choose. So you now take control of your life, not that the industry owns you.
Dang, I just feel like I'm gonna let everybody down going last. I should have gone first. This is garbage. Those are great answers. Everybody, see you later. Well, I'm kind of piggybacking a lot, as it may sound like, but we really did write these out separately from each other. But number one, I got, and we drill this in at IAPath, as much as we teach people the skill of handling a claim, we teach them how to be an independent business owner. Because you are a business owner, it is not enough to simply know how to scope a roof to be successful in this industry. It is not enough to know how to put a ladder up. It's not enough to know how to take pictures of cars or even to know what the, how to bend the frame of the vehicle back if you've ever repaired cars. It is not enough. You got to understand how to run the business and what your customers need in our industry. If you don't, you're not going to provide a good product for your customer. So number one, understand you're a business owner and treat it as such. Look at people, the IA firms, the insureds you work with, even the insurance companies that you may not directly be working with. Those are your customers, all of them. And you have to learn what their needs are and be able to deliver on those. Doesn't matter what skill set you think you have. If you don't have that skill set, you're not going to be as successful as what you should be, even if you find some margin of success. The second thing is put the odds in your favor. This is my soapbox. I've written a whole book on it, the Independent Adjusters Playbook, but my God, I just want to throw the computer, throw the phone at people when they call me and they're just thinking this way, that they got an adjuster's license and it took them 2 weeks, maybe. They spent $300 and I don't understand why I don't have work. And it's like, if you start to understand how big this industry is, when TJ said it before, and I wrote about it in the book, and the numbers have gone up. It's over 20,000 people are licensed in the state of Texas alone. Now, that's staff adjusters, that's independent adjusters, that's people from other states even who have licenses in Texas. But if a hurricane hits Texas tomorrow, you're 20,001 if you just got your license. So you are the very back of the line of who is technically eligible to get work as far as hierarchy and time in the industry. So you need to put the odds in your favor. And my big thing, my different spin on the whole industry is you could start part-time and you could start in daily claims. You can. Nobody talks about that online but IAPath that I've ever seen. But you could start part-time and you could start in daily claims. And to me, when you do that, you're increasing your odds because you're not going to burn out and run out of money. You're going to be able to start part-time, so you still have a job that's fueling your new business. It's your part-time business that you're investing in. And because you're starting in daily claims, you're only competing with the adjusters in your area. You go from competing with 12,000 people when Corpus Christi gets hit to competing with 12 in Oklahoma City, if that. Ask Max. He's in Oklahoma City of all places. You think there's a lot. There's not as many as what you think. So when you're local, the competition is not so much as a issue as it is when you're doing CAT, because CAT, you're competing with the whole nation. Lastly, diversify where your claims come from. I've made this mistake over and over in my business where I would work for 2 or 3 firms and I picked the wrong ones and they all go by the wayside in a matter of 30 days for various reasons. And suddenly I have to start all over building relationships. So have different places you're getting claims from. You can work as an independent, especially in daily, for as many companies as you want. And then work for various types of claims. Like, don't just hang your hat on property or auto or even heavy equipment. Do them all. We are very big. Like, if you start an auto, that's great. We love you starting an auto. We help with that. But then you need to move on to heavy equipment. And guess what? Long term, or the next 2 to 5 years, if you're an auto person listening to this, you better be in property, because at some point the computer is going to figure out how to write them dang estimates. I'm just telling you, auto is an entrance in. It is not where you stay for an entire career in the capacity that we see it now. So to me, diversifying where your claims come from in all facets, types of claims, companies, daily or cat, Max and TJ talked about that. You need to do that, because otherwise, as a business, you're relying on one product, you're relying on one customer, and that's dangerous. So as you find success, invest in other areas of your professional claims career and business to have new products to offer new customers. So that way you have a bigger chance of staying in business. All right, cool. Did I hang? I'm trying to hang, trying to keep up here. All right. All right. Any final thoughts as we close out this episode, Max?
I think when you're talking about, you have to think of yourself as a business owner. A lot of people have not owned a business, and you have to know that it's okay to ask for help, whether that be, getting an accountant or a CPA to help with your, expenses, your taxes. I mean, these are things that I did not think about my first year. And then tax time comes around and I'm like, oh man, I didn't track this and I didn't keep receipts for this. And I'm trying to fill it out on, I've got all these forms. I'm trying to do it myself on TurboTax. And I'm like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble here. So I went out and I got a local accountant and a local CPA, and they've helped me tremendously. And now I know what I'm going to end up owing, because I even make monthly payments or quarterly payments. And there's been years where I've actually gotten money back. So going out and asking for help, asking other adjusters, other appraisers what they do, ways to save money, ways to run their business better. I think that's something that you have to be able to do.
And if you're not in the iPath community, you're missing out on a billion tips that are happening month in and month out on how to run your business, how to do this stuff. We're all just asking each other how we do certain things, how we run a business, how we handle certain situations. So shameless plug, iPath.com, join the community. You want to do that. TJ, final thoughts.
Mentoring is super important in this industry. Networking, mentoring. Networking, obviously, for people that are able to introduce you to not just other opportunities, but also other people who are doing what you aspire to do. And then mentoring, that's so super important in this industry, to be able to have someone you can connect to that can show you the ropes, that can help you be a better adjuster, but you also have to be perceptive at being mentored and not to take constructive criticism or coaching or feedback as a beat down. Sometimes that's a let up, that's a hand up, because I really didn't have a mentor. That's why this is so important to me in this environment, especially in the community, especially with IAPath, to be able to connect with so many different people and to give them and impart in them what I didn't have coming in as an adjuster.
Love that. And Jason, final thought, over to you. Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
TJ just killed it. Anything extra over that is just wasted space. I'm gonna vote for TJ's answer.
I think TJ's elected vice president or president of this podcast today. You guys heard it here first. Thank you guys so much for being here. Until next week, keep walking your path and claiming your life, and get out there and kill it. It's claim time and it's your life, so go get it.